Welcome to Higher Frequencies.
Where do you go every time you leave? Why do you always gotta go somewhere away from me? I keep wondering if someday you'll just keep holding on. And like a fool, I just keep waiting till the hurry comes.
If you can find your way back home again, I hope you can find your way into my arms again.
Howdy, folks. We are back. And, I got notes this time. I'm realizing I keep missing things. And, it's happened. Some of these stories have happened so long ago. I'm going to try to keep a little bit of better track and, not have to try to backtrack. There's a couple things that I actually wanted to, but you know what? I'm going to let it ride. People are going to have to understand that I'm just a funny little guy, and some of these things that no more defending. Let's get into it. So where we last left off, I just had the most profound experience of my life. I did the fast, and I'd gotten these crazy downloads, and essentially it was like how our reality got here. And the shadow frequencies, the fear, the greed, the power, the things, the non-love that were kind of running this game, running our old game. But also that now, anyway, I'll get to that. And so once I finally kind of started getting into spirituality, found some teachers, Jessa Reed and her Awakening Orientation Department podcast, amazing, because she was a comedian. Well, she's a comedian. She's funny as all hell, but she's like, again, she awakened through, a lot of people awaken through near-death experiences, and she actually awakened through, I hope I don't get it wrong, but it was almost like a near-death experience. There's like a meth over it. So anyway, she's got the funniest stories about all this stuff, and it allowed me to see, it's like, spirituality, because I thought it was like, I thought spirituality had to be, this, love and light, and we're going to pray and meditate and do, but it's not. It's just really, it's authenticity. And it's this new modern spirituality that we're coming into. It's kind of everything. Like that part of me isn't like doing these, I just came from meditation retreat, and so it's, all of these things are just amazing pieces of gold that can help you and help you tap into a more of your inner self. And, I had to go back to some discipline. I'm like, there's part of me that's like, okay, well, I can't, I got to watch what I eat. I got to take care of my body. I had to weed out the mind by, going through these wild experiences. There's a lot of stuff going on as I'm, expanding my consciousness and doing it rather quickly. We all are. And, it's part of this thing, and why some people sometimes go into spiritual psychosis. Hint, hint. And, because it's just part of it. It can be part of it, or you can have a nice slow walk along the way. Everyone's different, but yeah, should have Jessa Reed. Again, she's been the one that really saved me a lot of time and energy and effort, and just having her as a guide, as a wisdom keeper, and in something that I could truly resonate with. and then to be able to, use other more, the gene keys. And again, when I first started, I had Buddhism, Taoism. It's like, I love Taoism and all of these principles. I got into some Hinduism when I was in India, and it's all amazing. And, the work and the energy and the frequencies that these, Sufis and sages and yogis has held for us is what is allowing us to get to this next evolution of the game. And, it's these souls that are consistently coming back, these bodhisattvas, and who are doing that. And I'm going to, sun went away. And anyways, but it all leads to the same thing. Leads to us, to love. Leads to love, to wholeness, to unity, truth. So essentially, yeah, what I'm experiencing and it's what I'm experiencing, what the gene keys, and this is the terminology of like human design, is that we're evolving from the cross of planning, which is, focused on like institutions and safety nets, to the cross of the sleeping phoenix, which is more, so like cross of planning is like, sacrifice some of your individuality, work these jobs and we all agree to these rules, and, you may not like it or whatever, but it's kind of what we all agree to works best. And, we can allow, we can work with that. And, that's worked really well for a long time. But, and I talk about this. There's a reason why it gets to I always want to say I got to be careful with my words and never want to get into fear and never want to get into that, like, why can't we make this transition with the least amount of chaos and suffering as possible? And you can see it happen organically, how we all, we're moving to organic foods. We're saying, I'm not eating this sprayed stuff anymore. And, people are leaving the system. They're starting their own communities. They're starting their own communes, and not even that, just going off grid and, moving to new systems. And we're just as conscious as people. We're just getting more aware. And that there's enough awareness now, and how consciousness as a whole, it's all it kind of really takes is just enough people to kind of get aware. And then there's a shift. And what I'm experiencing is that energy has shifted. That there's no more energy going into the old kind of game, the old system, and that's just gonna be slowly dying. And as we hopefully create, parallel systems to run across, you can step out, you can do whatever the heck you want. And I got a whole slew of ideas and how that might happen. And again, it's not just out of my own curiosity and my experience in consciousness is what, it's just what I'm passionate about, what I'm experiencing and going through. That being said, I'm passionate about getting my, my new life in order and being grounded and just coming back to this fuller sense of myself. Like, I will talk about that a little bit because, part of me going through this awakening was, and just, again, once I was like, it's a video game and I got to figure it out. And it's just this spiritual arrogance and being too high up in the clouds and not being it, but it was just part of my process. And I was just doing my best along the entire way and trying to be the best as I could. But, again, old habits come back, and I've, just tried to be as healthy and as honest, but I caused a lot of, I went a little too fast and, made some decisions I didn't want to do, but I'm still learning about that. So it's one of these things where I'm really just happy to be, doing, as little amount as, staying grounded and like coming back to the village. It's like that metaphor of like, the mountain is you, and you climb the mountain, and now I'm just coming back to the village where it's like, and trying to get more of this, like, Christ consciousness in me, and just more empathy, love, and but while still keeping my boundaries. So it's like, because again, it's the same thing. It's like the people that you really like admire. So I admire people who stand in their fullness and their inner authority and can say no and not feel bad about it. And I had, through my awakening of getting over my money programming and all of this, was, trying to give away money and learn about all this thing. And now I'm finding a little power of, like, again, of just being as honest as I can with that, and taking the time to focus on my inner discipline, my, rekindling my relationships and learning through my relationships. It's like me going through this new cycle of, like, revisiting everything, is I'm going back to the Buddhism and the meditation. And it's like I'm becoming the student again, but not quite as much time. And while creating is my real main goal, is to really just do what I read this thing the other day, or this meme or something, was just like, a dream inside of you, or these creative ideas inside of you that lingers, just kind of festers, and trying to get things as simple as I can, and just trying to be the best version of me as I can, and just staying grounded, staying here, and staying as sober-ish as I can. What feels right, while it's, again, the biggest thing has been this ever-increasing paradox of everything. Everything's a paradox on the line, so it's like, not too tight, not too loose. And that was the main thing that I always took from Buddhism. I'm like, that feels right to me, because I've gone super tight, and I've done the, like, pure sober thing, and, like, that was good. That was really good. But I almost, like, I don't know, and I might do that, and I'm contemplating doing that again. And and not to get into that, but that's what it's been like for me for, it depends. Anyways, time is weird, so I can't even, but, like, it's the same thing as, like, with the drinking. It's like every time, like, I'll, drink a little bit, and then it might be like, oh, it just feels like a little too much. It's a little shadowy, so we'll stop. But every time I come back, it's always less, and it's always being more mindful, and it's always being a higher frequency alcohol. It's always like, I don't want the sugar. Now I'm like, unfortunately, I've realized my body doesn't like my double IPAs that I used to like to have, like, one a night. And, but now it's like, okay, once a month, I could have a nice, tall beer or something like that, if I so choose. But I'm going through this thing of trying to release past traumas, and trying to take care of the body and understand how that works. And it's a lot. I don't want to get into that right at the moment, because we got a longer episode here than I could imagine if I'm going to get into this stuff now. But I think that's what I want to do going forward, is maybe because I've had this thing of, like, is, again, the paradox. The slower you go, the faster you get there. On the other hand, my little monkey brain, and this, not even that, this creative passion inside of me is just dying to talk about what's on my mind now. And that's what I'm rereading The Power of Now again. And it's just, like, struck a chord where it's like, I really want to get into contemplating and just sitting with this timelessness and time and the illusion of it all. And part of what I like doing is just figuring out this game, and then, putting all those pieces together, and then hopefully I can do something with it that will be fun and interesting and exciting, and add some value to us. Or if not, and it's the same thing with this, it's like, I will learn to find my voice along the way. It's like, learn to find these different aspects, and how I want to act and come across, and these changes that I'm going through. And that I got back into Dr. Joe. Dr. Joe Dispenza, how you can heal yourself with your mind, and like all these new amazing healing technologies that are coming online. But it's so vast and it's so increasing so rapidly in this time. It's crazy. We look back at the last 5 years, but I bet you if you look back, like what's going to change in the next year or two, it's all good stuff. And well, I won't get into that. There's stuff happening, but it's all leading towards the end of suffering, and it's all leading towards everyone being taken care of. At least I hope that's what I'm holding in my heart. That's what I'm holding, that we're gonna be able to build new systems that is in line with in harmony with nature. And so it's like, I guess I don't have to get into because the old game, the cross play, is like it's conformity and credentials. Okay, not at that point of the story yet, but versus authentic individuality and skills. What kind of skills can you? Okay, I was wondering what was poking my butt there. What kind of skills can you offer? And that's the most beautiful thing about this. Once we get the new systems in place, and we don't have to, we can get systems where, we don't have to worry about the money. And like, because that's the thing too. It's like, I understand. It's like, great. Well, I have to feed my kid. I know. But what we're going to, and we fuck around this planet forever. So we're building these systems for lifetimes and generations. And so that, the new and the future generations coming forward can focus on their passions and what their passions are, or what they're good at. It's supposed to be their gift to the world. And I truly believe, each of us is a unique blueprint. So if we be that authentic, unique blueprint and add that to the collective, then everything just works in harmony, right? Because everyone there'll still be people that want to do some of the things, but some of those things will be taken over by, these robots and AI and stuff. And yeah, there's a dark side, but I truly believe as long as it's what consciousness creates. We create our reality with our mind. So if we and why I want to create these visions and these others, or just why I, at least, to maybe satisfy my own mind and my own hunger, and that just by me starting to understand how the consciousness works, by putting these ideas into consciousness. Like, I'm having ideas and then I'm seeing them happen, and I'm like, yes, because I don't want to do them. I have no interest in some of these things. And I'm not saying I create, but I think, it's all connected and it's all waves, and maybe all of these gifts are but maybe that's how it works. I don't know. Because you talk, Rick Rubin and all of the creative geniuses, they know this, the ideas are plucked from consciousness, right? And if you don't, that's why anyways, I'm still learning about that, but why I think it's really interesting and important for us to, if you have a passion for that, if that interests you, and why people study what they do and learn what they do, and is to, to create these ideas, and then sure enough, someone will run off with them. And just to add more value to this brilliant, I said he was like maybe 26, he's a 22-year-old African American who built this reactor that's going to make it open source for all of us, that turns plastic into gasoline. It's like, boom, so we can stop the drilling and stuff while we're running the gas cars, and then while we're moving on to the next thing, to get off of that, to reduce the air pollution. And again, so the old is like centralized gatekeeping, and because it was about the prosperity was centered around, I need to work hard for this. It's effort, and I need to struggle to be able to make money and do that. Where we're tapping into the energies and frequencies, energy, frequency, vibrations, and resonance, and that we can learn by adding value to that you're gonna create abundance, whether that's through the connections, the relationships, the maybe you'll get, again, these are the spiritual teachers I've followed teaching me about this will say that if you believe in this thing, and why manifestation works as well too, it's just about clearing out your debris and clearing out your limiting beliefs and your false identities, and just these things to get you a more clear, to get you a higher frequency. And I'm working on mine as well too, because I've had some stuff stuck in the body, in the mind, and not loving how I've built my reality at the moment, and realizing I need to, resettle, reconfigure, replan. And put the time and effort and energy into that. I'm not saying we go la 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 and things will be done by attracting. We still have to make the conscious efforts and actions. Totally. And I mean, that's how we can build it. But and part of that was me seeing is just like, I need to get back to work and to do whatever the heck I need to do. And it's like, I'm, getting back to fasting and just sitting for 3 days and doing and whatever I need to do to clear myself out and to get my vision for my future, what it needs to be. Because, I'm lucky. I'm coming now from, used to be the fear mindset of, oh no, I lost the vision. It was so clear and precise, and I'm seeing a lot of different avenues and a lot of different options, and even to the point where it's like, man, like going back to work, to like, it sounds like a little bit of a breather for the mind in what I've been through emotionally, physically, and maybe not. Well, yeah, the body is taking a toll, and spiritually, where it's like, geez, maybe I should go back to work for a little while and build up some more funds, and I'm not, and that's actually, I'm like, man, it sounds not to, I've been very lucky and I'm very grateful, and I'm not going to harp on what I've been doing, but that I trust that whatever I choose to do by following my sacral, in human design, I'm a sacral manifesting generator, so I need to be busy. It's like, it's hard for me to sit, but yeah, these days where it wasn't, there's a reason why I want to do the Vipassana as well. I'm getting sidetracked. And as you can tell, I get excited and I just can go and talk about these things because I've spent so long kind of studying and researching, and putting this puzzle piece of my reality, my life, and how I view things, and trying to get over the shadow side of it, to be able to be comfortable when people, well, what are you doing? And it's like, well, I'm philosophizing, I'm kind of creating, I'm kind of doing, like, I'm studying, I am taking courses, and I'm reading and researching and writing, but there's not a lot of like output yet, as much as I would like. But I'm at this kind of phase now where I'm ready to output, and some of that will take some more time. It's like, I realize you can't write a book in and getting rid of the perfectionism. And just even today, I was like, I know I was not going to record this, and I'm just like, after some meditations and some things, I was like, I need to get up and I went for a walk and trying to reconnect with nature as well too, but it's having the patience. And it's being high enough in my own inner knowing, in my own frequency, to trust, to not have to defend what I'm doing. But it's just part of it. And I'm learning a lot about that. And I'm learning to reestablish these relationships and do what I can. But there's more that needs to be done there too. And yeah, I'm still figuring that out, and I can just tell that as I'm saying it. And I still got some pain inside of me from that too. And that's okay. I did it. It's my reality. It's there's see the cat. But I can no longer be a victim to anything that's happening outside of me. So it's, even though I still fall into it, don't get me wrong, but for me, and what I'm trying to do is at least having the conscious awareness. Say, oh, I see you there. And I see that fear. I see that limiting belief. I see that lack. I see that victim consciousness. And developing my skill set, my tools, and my consciousness to be able to lift myself out of that. And to be able to pivot and move out of it. It's just, yeah. And then to try to do something of value and try to just live a happy, simple life. Because the other thing about like getting a little, God, yeah, everything is just what I was trying to get at is like, I'm moving from, oh no, like, my dream doesn't feel quite right of the plan that I had, and I can't just travel and run away and just do these things. It's almost like I just want, my God, if I had a camper in the woods, to something solid. And then when I feel the need to go explore and experience more cultures and tap into that, but I'm really just needing the time to ground all of this stuff inside of me and to be able to create, to get to that creative side and to not be scared about, where my voice is at, how I sound, this, transition that I'm going through. It's like I will learn as I go, and that is it. And because if I have to, I already I didn't even talk about it, but I already deleted the podcast once, and that hurt more than I could possibly imagine. And I actually had a good thing going, but that's okay. I'm going to, again, I'm having to actually do the work to reduce some things. And here comes my victim consciousness. Stop complaining. I did it. So I'm just, putting the pieces back together and doing that as best as I can. And yeah, what else is, with the old game, is again, external validation as I sit here trying to, but again, this is for me. And, external validations versus inner authority, playing a real rigged game versus building new, systems that are harmonized with nature. Again, it's not as good when I have to read it, but hyper-individualized society versus regenerative collaboration. And I love this term that this beautiful, again, these, creators on Instagram, her vision, we're going to create a global, a global community of localized skill sharing. No, is it? Can't even read my notes, but it's like a global movement of local skill sharing, regenerative communities. And I think, I know that's where we're going. All right. So what the heck happened to me? And yes, that this reality, and it still works really good for some people. And it again, God, my mom said that the other day. It's like, some of us aren't going to want to go to this newer thing. It's for people that are tired of the old thing. And we'll do our thing and other people will do their thing. And that's it. And it's just about trying to, help each other as a community and trying to work together and take care of each other. Return of the villages. And where it's like, well, we can see it now where I'm like online, you can see, I'm seeing guys like cleaning up New York and he's like using donated funds, but making videos about it. And it's like, I think he's building, gardens beds and these things. And he's got the city's backing, and then people can grow their own food. And it's just this movement, and people can join into that, or they can stay and do their thing. And it's all good. It's all good. There's no right or wrong. There's no good or bad. And that the old game, again, I'll get into it. So that worked well for a while. And yeah, at the end of this download of things, I don't need to get into that. Yeah, things just changed for me at that day. It wasn't this was no regular mushroom download experience. Like, I was tapped into something else. And I could feel it physically, like my body changing, my mind changing, feel it in my teeth. And it's just almost like I'm getting, see, the time thing is different. It's almost like I'm getting like some new software installed or like downloaded into me that's ready to be like, ready to come online. And it's slowly, ever since then, been kind of part of that process. It's very, very visceral and very like wild. And yeah, at the end of it, it was just like, because it was heavy and I'm crying and I'm like, this is horrible. I can't, the suffering. And then it was like, again, the paradox of things, like, cheer up. And then something clicked inside. I could see this like vision of like, oh my God, all these stories and travel things I've been through, like up into that date. I'm like, it's an incredible story. Like, it's really cool. And actually kind of is pretty damn funny. Like, a lot of, and I have a vision for that too, for doing a longer term. There's a reason why, I don't know, as I get back into this, maybe I'll find out how to be funny and actually write jokes about these things someday. It's kind of would be my goal to do these things. And I was trying to do them before with stand-up to get over my stage fright, was to put these things into like 5-minute sets. But as you can tell, there's a reason why I need a podcast, because it's too long and I have too much to say. And that for now, it's just, I got to tell the story, and I got to go back and tell a whole bunch more of these funny experiences. They're too comical. Well, I would like to, at least, anyways. So that was great. And so everything was kind of different after that. And I just had this new awareness. It was like I could see, I first started kind of experiencing the holographic nature of reality. That, again, I like to use the analogy of being a video game. Nick Zai was another guy who was really good. He's the same thing. He calls it, his podcast is The Human Game. And I think he's actually just came back after a long period, and he has this app about trying to show people, or anyways, I'm very interested to see what that is. But I read his book. I read his book a while ago. I can't remember what it's called. Shoot. But he's coming out with another one too. But anyways, really brilliant dude. And then after I'd taken one of his courses, like, really good, just again to tap into these geniuses' frequencies, and to help me kind of, as I go through this process. So shout out to Nick Zai. And so it was like, and I guess what I could tell, it was just this more awareness of like, this is a yes, this is a no, this just clarity. And my heart being opened, and having this crazy desire to create. And that also, I could just see, like, the wild thing is just seeing the algorithm. So, like, I don't know why I was using binaural beats to sleep, and I'd, open my YouTube, and then I saw, like, the next suggested videos in the algorithm. I was just like, oh my God, these will be exactly what I need to listen to going forward. That when you tap into these higher frequencies of consciousness, it just starts feeding you more of what you like and need. And, for me to, like, heal my body, exercises, and just different things of information that will help. And that can get a little overwhelming when you're like, oh my God, well, I need to, that's why I had to get out. I'm like, all right, it's enough consuming these, new meditations, and now it's time to, pivot and do something creative, something to feed the soul a little bit. And then it was just this overwhelming feeling of love, and just waking up in the morning and bawling my eyes out, and just being like, it's all real, it's all true. And whatever this thing is, and yeah, and I'm still learning about the heart, but the heart is not what we think it is. It's not just some organ that pumps blood. In fact, there's new evidence come out that it doesn't actually pump blood. And I don't know the science behind that, or but I know whatever the information that I saw off this, again, one of these other brilliant men was just resonated very deeply, and how it circulates the blood through these, again, frequencies. And I'm going to shut up because it'll sound dumb and butcher it, but and that the heart is actually like sort of its own brain center as well too, and part of my awakening has been these kind of like just openings, this cracking open. And what Richard would talk about, every time I say Richard, it's Richard Rudd. And what he would talk about is, the heart, it's kind of a continuous process as you're going through awakening. It's kind of like crack opens a bit and then it closes. A crack opens a bit and it closes. And a crack opens a bit and it closes. But it still gets you to, more frequencies of love. And like, this was just something I've never experienced, and that stayed open, I think for quite a while. And was just, and that just finally allowed me to tap into creativity. And so it was like, what am I going to do with this information? And I had been journaling every day, and that had been, my favorite part of my day. And I was like, well, I just got to write about it. It was the same thing I kind of did with my journaling through these crazy experiences. When, me trying to write the book, I was just going through my journals and be like, what happened? And I really wish I had journaled much, much more over the last 9 months, because I was just in a state that I didn't really want to, but I had some experiences that are going to be tricky to kind of to write about. But I tried to make notes as I go, so we'll see. And, I was writing this thing called The Game of Life. And at the end of the day, I wrote like 90 pages, and I spent all this time, and finally I sent a draft off to my dear friend Nick, who's, who's really been inspiring me to create, and just really just like saying screw it. He's like, doesn't care about just doing what he knows he can do to like really go after his passions, and to like inspire me and invigorate me to get back to this. And he was just always encouraged me. So love that guy. And yeah, and it was, I didn't get back what I wanted to hear, but it's very, very true. It was essentially old man yells at cloud, like, and that's just part of the initial stage of awakening. Like, it's all a lie. This, the things are just tricking us to the thing, but it's not, but it's not that. I would say, and I don't even know, a very, very small percentage actually know what's going on behind here. And that other people are just puppets doing their thing and doing what's right, and this is what worked. And And that through this evolution of the game, and one of the reasons why we had this part of the game is that now we have this infrastructure. We have this infrastructure in place, and I'm sure it didn't really go as consciousness had planned because the amount of chaos and suffering and but what I'm seeing on that too is that, some people do work on themselves and are able to tap into that, but it's a school. It just takes time, and I don't want to get into, again, it's wild when you get into everything, because then there's the karma, and then there's the past lives, and then there's the, ancestral pain and all of this stuff. And this is why it's taken me so long to kind of, why I wish I kept it a little more simple instead of continuously feeding my mind. But I'm just going back to revisiting some older things to ground it in and to move on in a new direction. And so, yeah, I started writing it, and, and again, that was just a process for me. I learned how to write. And it's the same thing as doing this podcast. Like, who knows? Is anybody going to watch this? Maybe, maybe not. Doesn't matter. But I'm learning to find my voice, and I'm getting this story out of me, and then I can move on to the next thing. So it's like I can't just, I have this thing I'll go back to Nick before I go back to work, or run out of money, or I gotta do this thing that's inside of me and follow this thing, and yeah, this other thing, this creative side, man. But it was crazy. And then I made, the other part was, I'd been starting to share online and writing and stuff on the Instagram and the Facebook or whatever, sharing my story and talking about, me quitting drinking and all of this stuff, and contemplating it again, but I don't know. But trying to be honest with myself about it too. And yeah, trying. Because I do love a cold beer, but maybe, I got some non-alcoholic beer in the car. Maybe one of those would be delicious as well. But yeah, we'll see where that goes. I'm going to shove a sock in my mouth. And so I finally just, like, something inside of me was just like, all right, I don't know what it is. I just slapped my laptop down, and I grabbed a beer, and because I had just, gotten back into drinking and all of this stuff. And again, that was not in the most non-grateful, gracious, actually, maybe it was graceful because it was for me. And I just kind of said everything I was scared to say over that I've been holding inside of me. And that all through my experience of, maybe not all of it, but what I was conscious of, what I was aware of at the moment. And I was just this crazy, ridiculous rant. And maybe I'll put a snippet in, or maybe I'll put it at the end of this just to see how wacko I was. But that's just a part of, awakening to these things. And honestly, again, I just loved myself for that. And I love myself for getting over that fear of putting myself out there. And that, and then that allowed me to start making videos, and the feedback that I got, and just even to do a video and be like, I've had on multiple times where someone's like, man, I really need to hear that today. Thank you. It's like, that's all I need. It's all I need to hear. You got to keep me motivated, and I don't even need to hear that. Getting back some of my whatever, and so once I did that, it just kind of snapped the fear. That's the somatic part that I talked about, where it's like doing these things somatically. Like, you can meditate on it, you can, work on it, you can, do whatever. But if you just do it with your body, you kind of get over it. And I think it's one of these things, maybe a little bit on stage fright, because maybe I kind of want to get back to, I've contemplating getting, it's like, maybe I should get back and try to write comedy, but it's like one thing at a time. It's like, try to get this caught up a little bit, and and to hit that stage again. And maybe that'll never really go, but there's something in it. There's a reason why people who say they have stage or like they're still anxious, why they still love to do it and still continue to do those things. But for me, it was more so about music. It's something I want to do more of, but I did an open mic and I'm hoping to maybe share on here. But I got to write some lyrics. It's going to be a long episode if I don't get on with it here. But yeah, what I had experienced with these with the entities in the DMT realms was that say anything about this and you're done. And it was this huge fear, kind of was like, well, I don't know, like I know they're helping me and they're allowing me to see this magical side of reality and allowing me to walk through fears, and it's scary and some of it I don't like, but it's like I had to do it. It was like I was born to go through these realms of reality in order to build something in my own consciousness that will add value to us. And that, yes, I've done that too much, and I don't want to be doing that anymore, but that phase of it is just different now. I can't wait to talk about that. It's not like blasting off into these other things. I have this nice, soft, easy way, and it's like my own private consciousness that I work with in these realms, and that I'm learning that it's all about building this space or something. I'm still figuring that out. The healing technologies that we can be able to pass on and bring down from these other higher dimensions, higher densities rather, and access different dimensions. Because the DMT is a different dimension, the mushrooms a different dimension, the LSD is a different dimension, and then the other things in consciousness are different dimensions. And what I'm experiencing or how I've been taught is that the densities are the big kind of game changer ones. And then I just talked about it on this video. And what I realized, it was like, that was a fear thing too. It was like, talk about it and you're done. As in, talk about it and you're free. You're free to create. You're free to explore. You're free to say what's on your mind to the best of your ability. And that, being able to walk through these fears is like, now my fears and wasted energy on these frequencies was lifted up by my heart opening, and it turned into creativity, abundance, freedom, joy. And just things that were aligned with me. And that's where Mushman came from too. I can't remember, I think I was writing a day after or something, and I could never come up with the bio, would do the thing, and realizing there's a reason for that too, because I'm a plethora of different things all at the same time, and it kind of depends where I'm at. Sometimes I'm a creator, sometimes I'm a procrastinator. Again, and sometimes I'm a channeler for my guide to make fun of me for saying these things. And yeah. Oh, I did have... Alright. Well, there's more here. And yeah, so I was just blessed. And that's where kind of... Because, I had found this through the mushroom. That's kind of what allowed me to open up these different layers of me, and there's a lot more to go about that, because I'm still figuring it out, but I'm going to figure it out by talking about it on here. That was the other crazy thing. I don't need to talk about that, but it was pretty unique. Even in that moment of after that experience, the next night, I was freestyle rapping out of nowhere. But here was the crazy part. It was, again, this other gift of like, they're like, you have no idea what's available in your like genius consciousness. And they're just giving me snippets of like, you can do these things. And not that I want to be a rapper, but I remember this like song was on, and I just started like rapping, and everything's rhyming, is perfect, is flowing, and I'm like, God, I can rap. But it was funny because Bea she went, she's like, oh my God, she went and put, as soon as she hit record on her phone, boom, it stopped. And they're like, no, 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 this ain't for proving or showing. This is just for your experience about it. And you haven't earned, that's a skill. And there's some of these things, it's like, I'm showing, it's like, again, time's not real. But like, we're showing you what you're capable of. And some of them I was just gifted. It was just like this, whoop, just this, me having the ability to talk, or my heart opening just allows me to talk more openly, honestly, and to tap into different higher frequencies that just offer me more understanding, value, and love in my life. Just pure gifts. But that things such as like, doing comedy and, storytelling and all of this stuff, you're natural at some things. And, I think the first couple episodes of podcasts were probably the best. Funny enough, but I'm relearning how to do that. I'm relearning how to tap into this and yeah, just figuring it out. So that was great. And then I guess, as there was coming a time, and I think it was might have been even before that this happened. I'm not quite sure. But, like Bay and I both knew it was kind of like, time for me to go, like, God love her. She had the patience of a saint. And because especially after this happened, I was just like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on. I just need to write and like follow this thing. And I had to kind of like, it was just, I was like on fire for the first time with like, I have not enough time in the day. And it was literally those first week, I was probably writing to going till like from 8 or 9 in the morning till 10 o'clock at night. And I just couldn't stop. I was just enthralled with everything that was happening. It was like, I gotta get this out again, and just being like in love with everything, these possibilities of these new energies. And I'm like, oh my God, tasting freedom, tasting joy, tasting love. And it was just from me, but it was from us, I guess. I don't know. But like, yeah, and I guess why I've been content, and why maybe, I don't know. Why, the one or romance hasn't, well, I had to work through some stuff. See, that's where my wiser self comes in and be like, no, you had a lot of shit to work through. And, and you're about there. You're almost there. So I'm still getting there, but, and, again, just to give her space, and for me to go, adventure, and God love her. She was the gift that kept on giving. Because she had found this house through, pet sitting, and just one day, actually that night, I was playing chess with my dear friend Sean, who I had met in Mexico, that I talked about, I think, on another episode. And, yeah, we just play chess online or whatever. And I was, chatting with him. It was like, oh, we hadn't chatted in a while. So I sent him a message. Like, hey, Merry Christmas or whatever. And we're still playing today. Even today, we're still having these games. And, I've learned a lot off playing. That's another thing. As I played chess, I learned when I'm playing shitty in chess, I'm making shitty moves in my life. And when I'm on fire, rock and rolling in the games, I'm like, I'm on fire and I have the clarity. And the last couple moves in chess I made were very quickly. So we'll see. Not saying that they're good, but at least I'm having this return to decisiveness, and some of this clarity is coming back. And just not being worried or scared, being able to laugh at myself for the mistakes. Again, it's just coming back up to myself, because I kind of plunged down, but trusting that happened for a reason. We'll get into it eventually. Maybe. Getting to my righteousness again. This is the body teaching me. It's like, come on, get on with it. And so, yeah, and he's like, oh, Spain's amazing. In our chat, he's like, if you ever get a chance, go to Alicante. It's like, all right, duly noted. And what I do now when people mention those things to me, I'll put a pin in the map. Or when I meet someone from a different culture, or when, my God, I went to... This is what I'm talking about for abundance. And how when I tap into these frequencies and spend the time in gratitude and like clearing out my stuff, as I was like doing that, I had spent quite a bit of time doing that, over getting back and just really being seclusive. And I went to drop off a water sample to test at my grandfather's cottage. And I met this guy and I had to ask him, it's like, when you get interested or intrigued to talk to people, because I used to be shy about that. I'm no longer shy. When I get like a nudge, I talk to them. And there's always a gift there, a funny story or like something like, and that day it was like this guy, I'm like, well, do you mind me asking, what's your ethnicity? And he said, Nepalese. And I said, it's like, I should have known. And like, I'm trying to get better at, as I'm, I didn't know if it was, I was off. I was thinking it was maybe, anyways, it didn't matter. I was like, no way. I was like, I really want to go, back to Nepal, because I'll talk about that. And spent a very short stint there. My body wasn't ready for trekking, and we'll get over that. And I talked to him for like a minute. And he's like, oh yeah. He's like, yeah, I really want to go back in, my plan was in 2027, the next kind of hiking season, to go back and do, spend some time in the mountains, do some treks, and just, again, I love what they've done there as a culture. Oh, they overthrew their government. I don't know if you guys saw that, but that's something that I wanted to mention, because I said about not giving that thing energy, but there's still, like, God love the people who are making these drastic changes, who are passionate about these things and fighting for our rights and doing the right thing and making these major changes in the world. And it was mostly young people in Nepal were able to rise up against their own government, and like, because it was so corrupt, and that truth was just out, and that truth is coming out about all of these things. And that if we want some drastic changes, we're going to have to stand up for what's right. But luckily we do have a huge majority of the politicians are trying to do what's right. And it's only again, I don't want to get into that. But yeah, I talked to him. He's like, oh, great. It's like, when you go, he's like, I'll obviously fly into Kathmandu. He's like, yeah, you can stay at my house. And I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, I won't be there, but I'll tell my, my family or whatever, you can go stay there. I'm like, amazing. He's like, go, save you on a hotel. So for those nights. And I'm like, I know that there'll be something there. And I got to remind myself when I go back to reach out to him again to see if you take him for lunch, just to hopefully meet a new friend. But the same thing was like, I'm out for lunch and I see, this family's talking Spanish. They're from Honduras. And so, the donde eres, where you're from. And then I was able to practice Spanish a little bit and get into that. I love, the Latin culture. I love the Spanish culture. It's just, and then we just had this wonderful conversation. And one of the few countries I didn't, it was Panama and Honduras. I drove through Honduras, but I didn't get to spend time in Honduras. And a lot of people, it's dangerous, but it's nonsense. Again, if you don't have the fear, and if you go in with these intentions, and if you're something you want to do, but I would like to, and it was just this wonderful conversation. We're laughing. I get to practice Spanish, and that shy guy would have but I was just stepped in, and we had this wonderful experience. And because I get treated so well when I travel, and that's probably why I get treated so well when I travel, because I do. It's unbelievable, and I expect it because it's always what happens everywhere I go. And like India, I can't wait to talk about your country. Oh my goodness. And but yeah, it's just this, it's just this wonderful, synchronicities, and just opening yourself up to that and playing the game of life and having fun and getting over those things. The thunder's coming. I think there's going to be a rainstorm. That's a very good sign for me. Anyway, so bad. She was, just one evening she was like, hey, I think I found, she was looking for her next opportunity. I think I found something you might like. And it was this pet sitting gig in Alicante, and for 6 weeks. And she's like, yeah, it's this, pet sitting gig in Alicante. I'm like, where? Alicante. I'm like, can you book the call for me? Can we use your account? Because again, I was still in my lack back then. I didn't want to pay the $100 to sign up and create my own profile. Plus, there was a trust there in that she had amazing reviews and this incredible profile, and like that she had good enough references to be like, yeah, I trust this man. And I had, again, a couple nights later, I had a call. Boom, I got accepted. And now I got 6 weeks to go live in this beautiful, amazing place in Alicante. And I think I have to leave that all for another episode. Or should I get into it? It's going to be another episode. But I might just, we'll see. There's a lot of story there, a lot I'm figuring out, and maybe some notes that I want to make. Oh, right. Because I got a little more of this story to tell. And so, yeah, so God love her. She set this up for me, and I learned so much through that experience, and I'm still learning. And it's amazing, actually, because I reached out to her. And it's wild. We're still just it's crazy. And something told me, again, these are what I'm experiencing and how I play my game. When I get these pings in consciousness of like, oh, this guy comes to mind, I try to message him. I've been being dumb and making notes of it and kind of missing those opportunities because time plays a factor in that. But it's like, I used to do a lot of trying and like trying to reach out to people. I think I talked about this on an earlier episode, but I got a ping for Bea, a couple, and it took me a while. And, I sent an email, and it's just like, great to hear from you. And just sure enough, she was, spending time in these Buddhist retreats, and yeah, just like, and we need to talk about that. And well, yeah. And that she tried, the communal living and stuff. I hope Bea, you don't mind me talking about it, and it just wasn't quite worked out as planned. And that's what I think where a lot of these kind of, when you say the commune stuff, and a lot of the stuff before, while it kind of turned a little culty, or got a little cultist, because our consciousness wasn't quite ready enough yet. But you can see it, and I'm experiencing and finding people on Instagram. I saw this guy who goes and like kind of visits them. It's what his kind of thing is on Instagram. So again, as creators, we can take our passion, what we're interested in, and if we want to share that, turn it into something really successful by just with a phone and a microphone. And if you put the work in, so it's not a lot of work and effort and fear and resources, and it's like the easiest thing I could have done would have been stay at my job and just to work, to be honest. But again, it wouldn't have been the easiest, because to be honest, it would have been. And I guess that's why it was a little like inviting to be like, oh, just go back to work for 30 or 40 hours a week. And again, I'm getting my arrogance out and seeing that guy pop, but it's true, because I just needed a break from some of these things. But I'm also finding how, again, just gratitude for the life that I live, and just doing what, my work on me, which is on us in a way. And and just, again, she said, I thought it was too long to send an email, and there's like, no, perfect timing. And actually, I've been contemplating some of these things that you talked about, and when she replied to me, I'd been thinking about these things. So we were always kind of on that really same wavelength and time and what we're dealing with. And anyways, I hope, the crow's trying to tell me something, and just very grateful to have met her, and, to be working with my relationships again in the Venus sequence of the Gene Keys. It's all about relations, and what I've been getting back to is that instead of doing all of this, what are you trying to tell me? Instead of doing all of this internal work alone in solitude, I can learn. I can learn through my relationships, just being myself and being a better listener and taking the advice, right? And no one has to be spiritual, and just to ground myself and just see this gratitude of each and every one of us having this deeper empathy while also keeping my boundaries. And I'm still learning about that. And I'm still realizing, I went back to I get very, very excited when I start talking about this and opening up again and finding this channel of creativity. But I'm trying to find, this is me learning my voice. Hello. So it was just this wonderful thing of and so that was it. There was a date, and it was just this, the way that we ended that was just so graceful, so nice. And I think we both kind of got what we needed to out of that experience, versus where it could have been where we get into an argument and she wants to kick me out and I'm like, fine, I don't care. And we both could have just parted ways that way, and then, wanted to maybe heal that thing, or just move on and not deal with it at all. But instead, just had this wonderful gift of us ending, and and then being able to reconnect and still talk and share and care about each other. Well, I hope. So yes, thank you, Bear. And then I guess that was the other funny thing. Oh, there's a couple other. Oh, right, because we're not even close to Alicante yet. Right. So then on the way there, I'd been getting hints, and I guess it all started coming to when Bear was like, maybe you should leave. And I was like, fine. And it was like us building this inner, and maybe it was after that thing where I was very arrogant and confident and just, I don't know, just in the joy frequency, I'm like, sure. Of okay, and having this confidence of I can hitchhike out of here. I know I'm taken care of. And she had actually given me a sleeping bag because I had found, that I ended up needing. And she didn't need it anymore. She kind of gave it to me as a gift, and I left a book that I just had to get back. That I realized I was like, why did I give it? I'm very happy that I did. To give her the Art of Contemplation, which was, and this tarot deck that had been giving me. That was the other thing. I was working with the tarot. Or it was an oracle deck of every time I flick over that oracle deck, I'd get the card that I'd need to hear from, and get exactly the information that I need. But as we were driving, something was asking me to be a little more courageous, and I didn't need to, but I did, and it was like 3 songs in a row, of course in Spanish, but talking about going solo, going your own way, and all of these things. And something just told me, as we were driving by the monastery, and I didn't get to stop at that. Yeah, I was just like, you know what, pull over. And it's like, I'm gonna hitchhike it. And it was just this faith, this, this again, because I'd been shown it and I'd been experiencing it, and there's something that needed me to just have a little adventure, And so I went to the monastery. Of course, it was closed in that day because it was like second Christmas or something. I was like, uh-oh. Then as soon as I walked up on the road, I got picked up pretty darn soon. And then again, I got picked up pretty quickly. And I was making videos, so I was like, oh my God, I got to tell this story. But I didn't at the end, and I really wish I took that last video. But I was tired and I was scared because the last part of it I had walked, and I was like, well, I might have to camp out. And maybe I wanted to tell this. I did. I wanted to tell this with a little more energy because I'm running out of gas here. But maybe I'll end it here. I don't think so. And so I had been reading the book that Bea had allowed me to, let me to board to read. Love Money, Money Loves You. And I'll get into that on another episode. That was helping me learn the energy of money and change my reality and begin that healing process of it. And man, I wish I knew, and I wish I treated things the way I kind of try to at the moment. But I'm regrounding that part as well too. And in the book, it was just like, if you can, when you're in these frequencies, if you can tap into nature and ask for these things. So I was walking in this beautiful part of town, and I had asked, I was like, walking for a bit, being like, la la la, and feeling great. I was like, great, I'm going to get there. I should just need another ride or two, and I'll be close. To the train station to get me to Valencia. And because I was going to go there for a week before Alicante. And so these birds were chirping. I could just hear them. And it's just this wild, again, still in this kind of new thing. And then I just asked consciousness. And I said, can you please pick me up? Can you please get me a ride to the train station before sundown? Because I knew when sundown would happen that I would probably have to camp out. And then just kept walking. And sure enough, I thought there was like a half an hour before sundown, but there was a couple hours, and I had all my bags with me. Mind you, it was so I had to walk for, I think maybe 3 hours in total or something. But again, that smart alecky thing of me, it was like, I should have just allowed, and I should have probably just taken the ride, and just to be like, watch it, don't do dumb things. But it was an experience, and I learned a lot from it. And just as I was about to give up, I was walking, and I saw this sign. It was like, Camp de Tarragona. It was like, 5 kilometers or 2 kilometers. And I ended up, I was like, maybe I should just go in there. Maybe there must be a camp or something. There must be a camp or something in there. Because it's like Camp A, and Spanish is pretty close to English, so I just assumed. And yeah, but I'm like, I gotta keep going. I gotta trust in this. It's not dark yet, and I can just sleep in a field under a tree. I got the sleeping bag. I'm good. And all these cars are passing by. These fancy cars and all this stuff. I'm trying. And then sure enough, I was like, all right, well, maybe I was wrong. I was like, it was dusk, right? And all of a sudden, this the most beat up car of the last the whole day. Just, slowly passed by me. And eventually it stopped. I'm just like, yes, thank you. And I'm like, why did I ask for like to come before it got dark? And it was this guy from Africa, and I wish I didn't take the video with him, and I wish I did. And I wish I had done more with that. But you could tell he's, I couldn't speak Spanish, he couldn't speak English. But this utter gratitude for this man who, you could tell he was like a hard worker, didn't have, of any resources other than, nuts to that. He had a car, and he had generosity, and he had everything that he needed. And he was just this wonderful man that, and just being very grateful. I could have at least taken a picture of the car, but maybe I'll put some of these videos on after just for fun. But and then he's asking me like, where are you going? And Estación de Tren de Valencia, and I just assumed, I would go to Tarragona and go to the train station there. But little did I know, my smart ass, that Camp de Tarragona was a train station. So here I am being, again, some of these funny stories of me like walking by the train station, and so but being honored by this man with his generosity. And I couldn't understand him, but he's trying to tell me like, back here. And I'm like, well, no, I'm going to the Tarragona, the train station. And eventually he just turns around, and now I'm like, I go into fear. And then I was like, oh, where is it? I was like, what? No, the train, like, where you take me? It's the wrong way. And he's like, no, the train. And he's like, train? He's like, train. Like, the station. So there was a train station outside of the city, of course. And he got me there. And I got to the train that got me just in time to get to Valencia, to get to the hostel, just before it closed. And that's all I'm going to say about this story. And I wish I had a little more gusto in the end of that. But yeah. Ciao, guys. All right, so here I am in Santa's Cruz. My friend driving me to Tarragona, take me to the next spot. And something kept telling me, it was like the same thing. It's like, we want an adventure. Fuck it, let's just hitchhike from here. I wanted to go up, and I never got to see inside, which this just doesn't do it justice, but anyway, it's beautiful in here, and inside the monastery. Check it out before I go, and then make my way. Pick up a bottle of wine. Well, it's like Christmas today, everything's closed. So, we'll see what happens next. I have no data on my phone, I can't even post this. Okay, alright, it only took 5 or 10 minutes, and Sergey right here, oh, say hola! Hola! My brother here picked me up, and it's great, we're on this beautiful road, so yeah, all is well, this is great, why not?